Florida Explorer here. We're in Jacksonville today. Haven't explored this area a lot. We're going to try to get some of the historical high points in today. Possibly tomorrow, I'm not sure what the end of this day we'll find. We're at Camp Milton. Those that know me well know that the Civil War, in terms of history, is my first love, and any chance that I get to visit a Civil War site, that's going to be a top priority for me. I wasn't aware of the existence of this place. This is not a major. There's only one major field in Florida, and that's at Lusty, of course. There are probably 25 major fields, as the historians designate those, in terms of amount of men who fought, amount of men who died, etc. That constitute a quote-unquote major site. And again, this is not one of them. However, this is significant. This was the largest earthworks constructed in the state of Florida, the largest barricade or I forget the term, but anyway, we have original earthworks right down this trail here. Our original earthworks that those men dug in 62, and those are still in existence. I'm sure they're rounded off, as these things usually are over time, erosion and and that sort of thing, but they're still there. What those men did is still there. We're going to take a look at that. Over here we have an example of the stockade that was built and the manner in which it was built. It's not original. It's the original site, but it's not the original wood, of course. The wood doesn't, uncared for and unpreserved wood doesn't last that long. So we're gonna take a look at that as well. That's very interesting, very compelling. But this area was along the rail line from Jacksonville over, I guess, to Lake City or wherever it went. But that was where the Battle of Lusty was fought, along the same main rail line. I guess it would have gone to Tallahassee though, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would have gone from here to Tallahassee, being that that was the capital. This was the major port. So one of the most compelling things that I find about this part of the state is that it's much older. Even though the Spaniards landed in Tampa Bay area, they just passed on through. Of course, there's evidence that they were there, and historical writings suggest the same thing. But they didn't build anything permanent. Here they built many things permanent. St. Augustine's not very far from here, and there's a lot of evidence for Caroline that they made permanent structures in this area, as did the French and the English after them. And of course, the Europeans settled here, or the Americans settled here much earlier than they did in the Tampa Bay area. So that's also very compelling to me, and interesting, because we find many more permanent structures. So we're going to take a look over here, see what this is all about, and then we're going to go down and check out the earthworks. Fortunately, I don't have a camera person today, so I'm by myself. You're just going to have to deal with me. And here is the earthworks that I talked about. Very cool. The construction, very neat how they did it. And of course, this would have all been as covered up with earth as it could be. You can see now that the mounds are built up, not only to hold it in, but also to create more protection from the bombs. That's what this was all about. It wasn't to keep men out battle, attacking, that sort of thing. It was to keep lessen the effect of the explosion and the bombs. There were over 430 pieces of artillery at this site, and 7,500 men manned this site, which makes it, even though they didn't have huge battle here, they did have skirmishes, and it makes it significant in that regard. Apparently this has not been preserved only since 2001, or 2001 I should say, and that also makes it interesting, because that means a set dormant without anybody looking at it or taking care of it, in any way preserving it for all those years. Now this is definitely the original site, but again, these cannot possibly be the original wood. Certainly not the original rope either, but it's a good representation. It gives you a good idea of what a portion of this would look like. Now again, of course, this is just a tiny bit of it. This would have extended way past there and way past there. This would have been a line. This would and a line of defense. That's the whole reason for it. Now we're going to go check out the earthworks, see what that's all about. Which I would have come up here anyway when I found it was a site, but when I found out there were original earthworks, that made it number one on my priority list. Because those things, original earthworks do not exist willy-nilly. Just anywhere and everywhere, even though they were dug in many areas. In most cases, in the vast majority of cases, they've been, that's nice, they've been either eroded or just completely scraped off, and a Walmart or something replaced there. So to have actual earthworks still in existence, still extant, is very cool. Very, very cool indeed. You'll find them. Well, of course, Vicksburg looks like it almost looks like it originally did back in the day. I mean, it is just totally, there are areas of that are just completely devastated. In terms of the field having been completely, the ground having been completely dug up to create these earthworks. But you go to places like Cold Harbor and some of the 7 Days sites, and even though they weren't building this kind of fortifications with great regularity during the beginning, certainly not in the 7 Days campaign, but those same areas in '64 would have all been huge lines of earthworks, and there's almost no evidence there. There's some evidence. There's some in the wilderness. There's some along the fields around Chancellorsville, Fredericksburg. Very few. You really got to look for them, and they're not. Most of them are not glaringly obvious. You have to really know what you're looking for. The battle that they expected, and the reason why they dug all these fortifications, never materialized, but there were cavalry battles fought in this ground. And again, Lusty's only 45 minutes away. This talks about archaeology. Of 15,000 Almost 16,000 feet of earthworks reported to have been built. Only 725 remain. Follow this path 850 feet to the fork and see the remaining earthworks. I believe I'll do that, since that's why I came. Oh, cheerio. And we get to traverse through this beautiful forest. Something out of a dream or a movie. But it's real. Might we see some unexpected wildlife? Certainly no gators, but perhaps a snake. Just a little snake. Of course, back in 62, 64, none of this would have been here. This was all, they would have taken every one of these trees out of here to use them for wood and building earthworks and building shelter. They were still using wood and a lot of the tools, handles for tools, that sort of thing. Furniture, still all wood. Shelters for the individual men. Though probably not so much so in Florida because it wasn't very cold. They would have probably still been using only tents. Whereas in the northern area, the northern theater, I should say the northern part of the eastern theater, Virginia, Maryland, during the winter, the winters could be very cold there, and they were using a lot of wood to build log cabins and temporary log cabins, of course. Rained all day yesterday. Supposed to rain today, but we know what all the reports I read were that it was going to rain much more past mid-morning. It's a little past 8 right now. So we're not going to worry too much about it. Certainly not going to let it stop us. Shoot. That's not what I want to have happen. It's definitely slippery back here. The sun doesn't get a chance to penetrate to dry everything out, so when it rains it just stays slick. Line of defense. Camp Milton defensive earthworks. Abattis, berms, advanced rifle pits. Very cool. There they are right there. We can see them. It's hard to show up on camera, but those are earthworks right there. Oh yeah, very neat, very, very cool. Yep. That's it right there. It doesn't really show up on camera, unfortunately, but that mound that runs along down through there is a pale reflection of the stalwart earthworks, which would have been compacted together with wood to create, there's some more right there, an almost impenetrable barrier against artillery. Camp Milton, a major Confederate camp. Camp Milton was among the most significant Civil War fortifications built in Florida, constructed during 1 month. The camp design is attributed to Beauregard. Saw two major assaults by Union troops and one counterattack by the Confederates. Oh, I was wrong. I had read earlier that. Okay, well, good. I didn't know that. Well, good. The camp served as headquarters for all Confederate troops in East Florida and was the base for over 8,000 Confederates with 430 artillery pieces. Camp Milton was also the site of numerous small picketing encounters, so there was a lot of activity here, a lot more than I had originally thought. There's some more right there. There they are, right in there. That is incredible. There's the earthworks right there. You can barely see them. Covered up with dirt. Covered up with dirt. Covered up with overgrowth, brush. Probably be much more visible in January or February when everything is just completely dead or dormant. But since this is early May, there they are right there. Very neat, very neat. They run all up and down through here. Since this is early May, this is all starting to grow over by summertime. I wonder if you could even tell what it was, what's here. So the feds never actually captured this. The Rebs abandoned it, having been outflanked and left through that way. Oh, there's a really good one there. That is really a big one. It's really, you can really tell that. The thing's almost like an Indian mound. You can see from here on over, all the way through, all the way down. Very neat stuff. Very cool. Definitely glad I got to come up here. Alright, we're going to photograph this and head over to the Educational Center and then move on to the next stop, which will be Kingsley Plantation. Explorer out.